And we're back with another episode of the Pop Culture Cosmos. My name is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly appreciate you being part of the broadcast here today. And who else is going to be here with me than my good friend? He is the squadron leader of Humanica Media. It's Josh Peterson. What's going on, my friend?
Not much, man. An article popped up on my computer comparing the Game of Thrones characters, what they look like on the show versus real life, and some of them are a lot more attractive than you would imagine here.
Because Game of Thrones, I know they just started letting out some even more plans for the last year of their series, plus also even more talk, I should say, in regards to prequels and whatnot, and delving into more of the series. I know that the showrunners of the show have had talks with George R. Martin, and I know that that's ongoing about possible ideas how they can spin off the Game of Thrones. So definitely something to look forward to for Game of Thrones fans indeed. So it's just a great time indeed. And if you're a Game of Thrones fan, there's still more on the way, I'm quite sure. But with all that great stuff that's going on with Game of Thrones, what's even better is all the great stuff that's going on with Humanica Media. So tell us, what's all going down with your channel, my friend?
A lot. We have a What About This new one on Monday. Finally, we recorded it. It is recorded, so it does exist. And we'll have a new Super BS on Monday, and just the wheels keep on turning. I don't know when Guardians of the Geek is coming back, but if you it should be coming back next week. But if you haven't listened to the first episode yet, it is up on podcast.com. And as always, you can check everything out on check out Attack of the Humanicans on Tuesday nights at 7 on Podcast Radio Network.
That's correct. 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, and also as well the PCC Multiverse, which is also on the Podcast Radio Network at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific on Friday as well. Plus, we'll give you a big rundown of all the streaming and downloading platforms a little later in the show. But I wanted to first surprise Josh. This is episode 51 of the Pop Culture Cosmos. Next week is our 1-year anniversary. Can you believe it, my friend? 1 year has gone by of episodes, and we're looking very much forward to the 1-year anniversary for the Pop Culture Cosmos show, which for 6 months now has been the number one show on the network. So it's coming soon, my friend. 1 year in the books.
Nice. Yeah, it hasn't been that long. It seems like we've even just started this little venture.
Indeed, it has. And it just, I remember the first few episodes are smoothing out the rough spots and whatnot. So we truly appreciate everyone sticking with us and all the people who've come on since then. And we cannot thank you enough for allowing us into your homes, into your radios, into your cars, or wherever you listen to our show. We just truly appreciate it. It's going to be a great episode today we have for you. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about with Xbox at Gamescom, how they did. Also, as well, we're going to talk Netflix, The Defenders, see how that Marvel Netflix Love Fest has continued, and see whether or not, we'll let you in on whether or not you may want to watch it or you may want to skip it as a Marvel fan. We'll also talk a little bit about this weekend's box office. Numbers are still not that great, but one movie seemed to prevail quite a bit over the other, and we'll talk about that as well. Plus, we've also got Tyler Baker coming back from the Fantasy Football Pay Dirt podcast. He's going to share more insight for your fantasy football draft to focus in on, that he's going to drop some knowledge on us a little bit later in the program as well. Plus another great song from Hyperschmidt. But first, Josh, I got to ask you, Gamescom is just underway, and what kicks it off every year is Xbox's press conference, and they officially unveiled the Xbox One X as far as it's all ready to go. Pre-orders are now underway. We've got a Project Scorpio special edition that you can get. It all looks great and groovy, but still at that extremely high price for a console. So it's a tit for tat. They really don't have any games going out day and date with the delay of Crackdown 3. So there's some good and bad to it. There's some great trailers that are out there, and you want to check our Game Source Facebook page on our newsfeed, and you can check out exactly where you can link up to all the great trailers that were shown. But was there anything that really stuck out to you with Xbox's press conference coming from Gamescom?
What it told me is that they're banking heavily on the Xbox One being a success, but I know we've talked about this before. It's exciting there's a new console coming out, but it's not really going to be beneficial to anyone who doesn't have the 4K capabilities required to get the most out of those games. So as far as their games go, like I know everyone's hoping for more of a solid release date from Sea of Thieves, and I don't know when that's going to happen, but the Jurassic Park game looks fun. I know that was kind of what everyone was hoping for, the Jurassic Park game back when the that indie game came out. I forget, what was that called, when they were talking about what happened to the Barbasol can.
Oh yeah, I know what you're doing. I off the top of my head, I forget the name, but I know I remember the Barbasol can.
Yeah, because I remember a lot of people really liked the Jurassic Park zoo simulator that came out on the original Xbox. So I think that this game will definitely be something that fans will like, because everyone likes the little mobile game that's out. But I think that Xbox is relying super heavy on the Xbox One, so I'm just going to be our Xbox One X. So I am curious to see what the sales are going to look like on that.
Well, I was actually impressed with the new bundle packages for the Xbox One S, which I still say unequivocally is the best valued console out there for the money as far as features and value for the price that it's at. I'm just going to say it out front again, that it is the best value in my opinion at this point in time. And they came out with a Minecraft with a special edition, all cool colors, and also controllers that came with it that are different colored or whatnot, that more aligned with the Minecraft persona as far as the whole way it looks out, and much better Minecraft I would say bundle than what was previously done as far as the Minecraft bundle before it. So this one definitely looks like it's something special indeed. And also as well, the Middle Earth Shadow of War bundle, that was actually a very nice looking bundle as well. So definitely looking forward to those hitting the shelves, because I may actually pick one up, because I'm interested in actually picking up an Xbox One S if it goes to the right value price point for me. So that's definitely something to look forward to. But something I also want to talk about was the announcement that PlayerUnknown's Battleground, which has been a games media darling for the past few months and has risen steadily in sales. In fact, they just announced that it has sold over 8 million copies on PC alone, is going to be, for a time being, I don't know how long that's going to be, but it's an exclusive deal for now on consoles with Microsoft as far as an early access, and then coming a full-fledged game later on down the road, like Ark Combat Evolved. So I ask you, Josh, does this really move the needle as far as the Xbox is concerned? Because this is actually becoming a really fastly growing popular game, this PlayerUnknown's Battleground. I've seen the footage. I haven't had a chance to play it myself, but it really looks like something that a lot of console players can get into as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's everyone I know is talking about it, and it's one of those games that sounds like anyone can jump into. You don't have to worry about how good you are. It's a first-person shooter that has nothing like. It's just a first-person shooter. You can pick up the controller, play with your friends, and have a good time. So I think, as far as like Microsoft having it exclusively, that could be. I mean, that's a really great idea. It could very well signal ill tidings for Call of Duty, especially if it reaches the PlayStation 4 because it's just become such a phenomenon that it's you know, it doesn't sound. It sounds like it's the golden age or the golden eye of our time. Like it sounds like people are loving this game so much, and it's so much fun. I haven't played it yet, but hey, if it hits Xbox, when it hits Xbox, I'll probably pick it up. But yeah, that's definitely a great idea, especially since Microsoft is their console sales have been slow as of late. So I think it's definitely a great idea to make friends with the creators of that game.
Well, it definitely reminds me of when they announced Ark Survival Evolved. It would be a somewhat of a exclusive on the Xbox One, and they've got a head start as far as with gamers on that platform as well. And it worked out pretty good for them as far as in early access and becoming a full-fledged game there. So I see that type of migration as well. Is it enough to move the needle? Well, I'm not sure yet, because as we stated previously on the PCC Multiverse, the Xbox One, Xbox One X, Xbox One S, doesn't matter. The whole thing needs a lot of help, because last month's sales are an indication. The Nintendo Switch and the PlayStation 4 were running neck and neck as far as who would be coming out on top, with Xbox One a distant third, which is a shame, because, like I said, the Xbox One S seems to be, at least for me, a probably the best value out there as far as what it can do for the money. But the PlayStation 4 is still a very solid system, and even the Switch as well. And now that the Switch is becoming a great deal more available, because I'm starting to see it available everywhere, the sales for that should even pick up more as well. So Xbox definitely has its hands full coming out this season with all this stuff that's coming out, including, like I said earlier, the new Xbox systems, and also as well the Project Scorpio Xbox One X. If you got a chance to look at it, Josh, was it impressive to you as far as something maybe that you might be interested, as far as at least the limited edition is concerned?
Yeah, but like I said, right now I don't have the 4K. I don't have anything that supports 4K. I know it'll work on a plain TV, but
you won't get the resolution. You won't get the full.
There's no.
Yeah.
So I think when I finally upgrade my my TV and all my other stuff, that would definitely be a console I'm interested in. But for right now, I don't have any reason to buy it.
And then about that time, it'll probably be reduced to $399. Do you think?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's if I correct me if I'm wrong, but I know when consoles first come out, like, they don't stay at that top price point for too long before they drop to a lower, more affordable rate.
Unless your name is Nintendo.
Unless your name is Nintendo and you still can't get your latest console.
Exactly, because even Wii U bundles and Wii U sales are still asking for outrageous prices on a system that is no longer being manufactured, that only sold roughly 10 to 15 million in the first place. So, if that's Nintendo. So, argue with what they with what they're doing, but that seems to be a successful formula for them. So that's them. But Xbox, there's still some stuff down the line. Sea of Thieves we've talked about. As far as State of Decay 2, that's also something that could be down the line, something worth having on the Xbox One platform. And there's also the latest Forza, which looks really, really good. I know Josh and I got a chance to take a look at it at E3, and that really was impressive. And there's, like I said, there's a little bit of this, a little bit of that coming to the Xbox One, which differentiates it, but does it really make it stand out as a system? Not quite sure. And there's also, even though there's announced 100 games that will be bumped up to reflect the Xbox One X's power and be able to harness that power, that's great news. But there's still really no game that's really been made for it, that's going to come out, that's going to really just give it that leading edge, got to have it system seller. So it's still up in the air as far as the future of the Xbox One X, but pre-orders are available for it now. It's $4.99. So if you're interested in it, you just go ahead, pre-order right away while you still can. And I'll tell you what, it is going to be interesting to see if people will buy that console at that elevated price range, or will they stick to a little bit lesser a little bit cheaper options such as the Switch, the PS4, and also as well the Xbox One S. What are your thoughts on Xbox at Gamescom? Did you like all the announcements they had? Did you think there was not enough? Are you kind of worried as an Xbox fan that there's not enough software or games to support a new system? Are you interested in purchasing it now, the Xbox One X, or are you going to wait down the line just like Josh and most likely myself as well? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanica Media, and Game Source on Facebook and Twitter as well. We've got a great show again lined up for you. Like I said, Tyler Baker from the Fantasy Football Pay Dirt podcast will be joining us a little bit later in the show to talk some more fantasy football strategies, plus a whole lot more. But first, we've got our good friend, Chad, with Hyperschmidt. It's another great song, and this is About to Win, and this is the Pop Culture Cosmos. I had the YouTube page up and I was looking and I was like, oh yeah, that one. And we're back with Pop Culture Cosmos. My name is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly appreciate you being part of the broadcast here today. And if for some reason you cannot hear us on the podcast radio network, it's okay. That's no problem. We've got a myriad of places you can go to download or stream the episodes each and every week. And also as well, the PCC Multiverse is on that channel. And don't forget, we've got a lot of other great stuff that's added on to it. So I just want to say, if you miss the show on the podcast radio network, we've got a great lineup of channels that you can download and stream off of, including iTunes, TuneIn, the Ace Podcast Network, Apple Podcasts, of course, Overcast.fm, Player.fm, Google Play, Stitcher Radio, Podcast.com, Mixcloud, the ESO Network, the Tangibound Network, the Gonna Geek Network, Cast Crunch, Social Podcasts, and PopCultureCosmos.wordpress.com. Whew, that's a great lineup indeed of places you can download and stream the podcast. And if you do, we always throw a bonus in there for you, kind of like a 2-for-1 podcast, interviews, extra stuff in there for you just for listening. Josh, I'll tell you what, we watched The Defenders, although you've got one episode left at this point in time, although I know you're going to knock that out, in no time. We've still got a lot to talk about when it comes to Defenders. It debuted on Netflix this past week, and it's been the talk of the comic book world, so to speak. So Josh, I want to get your thoughts first on The Defenders on Netflix, what was leading up to it, but really how it laid out itself as a series to this point in your eyes as far as The Defenders. Did it meet all the hype, or did these street heroes, as they're commonly referred to, not quite meet up to what was expected?
I'm kind of, I don't know, man. I guess I need to finish it, but like right now, I feel like the story was very rushed. Like we didn't really get a lot of character development. I want to say it seems like Elektra was kind of just thrown in there for a plot point or plot device, I guess.
Yeah, and also as well, they're expecting you to see the previous shows as to understand everything that's going on within the universe. Although in the case of Iron Fist, maybe you really didn't need to know that as well, because he keeps reiterating his basic plot points in his series.
Right, and I know, like, I've heard the one complaint I've heard is about the Iron Fist, but he's kind of, I know a lot of people don't get that. Like he is without him, there wouldn't be Kunlun, Kunlun, or the Hand, or any of that stuff. Those are his. They exist because he exists. But yeah, I felt like the story is super rushed, and there's a lot of things they're doing just for the sake of doing them, and I'm kind of curious, like, what went into the process of that, or if there was even really a you can tell there's a formula they're trying to copy with the Avengers. Like they started out fighting together, and then they had, you know, their big falling out, or everyone's turned against each other, and then eventually they're gonna start working together again. But it's, you know, it seems like there's a lot of especially like Jessica Jones. I know people like her a lot, but she's severely underutilized. I know she kind of cracks open the whole thing in the beginning, but it seems like she spends most of the show just getting her butt kicked.
I just thought it was not really a good 8 episodes all the way around. I think there may have been some slight high points, but for the most part, it was pretty much a downer. As someone who is, you know, coming into the Netflix Marvel series as far as trying to embrace it, this basically, like the ABC series, are just getting me right back on out, because it was there were a lot of boring parts. I'm just not going to just, you know,
yeah,
I'm just not going to really dance around it. It was just pretty much there were almost every episode had immensely boring parts. Some of it was poorly scripted. Some others parts there were poor direction. Some of the fights that were choreographed were like almost in the dark, which were not meant to be.
Fast to follow, and it's
yeah,
that got me. And I didn't like how they wanted to throw all these characters, like all the side characters from each show, into this show, but they didn't give them anything to do except put them in a room. And you know, the whole thing with like Matt, it took that. I was hoping that they would flesh that relationship out between him and Foggy and Karen more in Daredevil season 3, but they kind of took it here in this show and they stuck it in a blender, and they didn't really show any reconciliation as much as it was just like a sudden understanding of like, oh yeah, Matt needs to do this. So
and why did I need to be scared of Sigourney Weaver's character anyways?
Yeah, and they were hyping her up like she was the big baddie, but you know, spoiler alert, you know what happens. But like I don't know, and I feel like the Hand, like having them only wanting to live forever, like no other purpose beyond that, kind of feels like a waste of time.
And the way the series ends, even more spoilers, is kind of on a just a minimal. It didn't seem very important in the whole. Okay, this battle for New York didn't seem like it was a battle for New York. It seemed like a battle for one building. And that to me didn't, it seemed very, for something that started out and had such monumental hopes in the beginning, seemed to fizzle out by the end. So, you know, I know there's an ultimate end goal to it, but and it really just, the consequences for everyone involved weren't really there. You know, there's another spoiler. Only one individual involved in the entire series, as far as on the good guys side, really meets any true long-lasting harm, and I'll leave it at that. So yeah, that's it. Just pretty was, it was pretty much a inconsequential series as a whole, and just to me a major disappointment as far as something I was excited for, them all teaming up. There were brief moments in time, like in the Chinese restaurant, and again, spoilers, there was some really good interaction there, but that just basically dragged out for an entire episode, even more. And it was supposed to take place over an entire day, almost day, which, or in this case, almost an entire night, which I hope you're paying everybody that was working that restaurant, you know, overtime for that. And just basically, and also the boardroom, there was a boardroom sequence as well, which I know you can see some of that in the trailers, which was pretty good.
That was kind of cool. That was kind of cool.
But those were like, you know, two moments I could tell you pretty much out of an entire 8 episode series. Like I said, there was also a fight sequence somewhere in the series, I won't mention where, that was one of the, it was not like it was supposed to be meant to be a dark scene. It was supposed to be meant by the audience to be viewed and seen, but it was so poorly directed and poorly lit in a way that it didn't show off any of the moves and coordinated attacks for the heroes, and it kind of disappointed on that level as well. And the hand itself, as far as the ultimate end goal and the ultimate end result for the hand, on how they either gain the upper hand or suffered any demises, was really kind of almost ended out on a whisper as well. So I don't speak very highly of it, and I'm very sad to say that, because I really had high hopes for the series coming in. I specifically, got Netflix with the impetus to check out the Defender series as a whole. So any last thoughts on the Defender series from you, Josh, and what they can do at Marvel and Netflix to maybe get back on the right track?
I mean, you're literally being handed the source material. You're being handed the comic books that people know and love, and all you gotta do is follow the formula on the pages to make it good. And I'm not saying I'm not gonna give Defenders another try, like if they go into a second season of it, but I'm just saying it's hard to screw it up. To me, I look at it the same way I look at Suicide Squad, was the fact that you were handed all of this great material and you managed to screw it up. Like how does that happen?
And another thing I want to ask, does Luke Cage in his wardrobe just have those jackets with the hoodies just all lined up, and no matter how many bullet holes goes in one, he just got another one to replace it, pretty much the same ilk? Is that correct? Or I don't know how that works with, all that, because, he is awesome. Him as an actor, I thought was really pretty good. I think he was the best of the bunch and most impressive. His story was the one I connected with most, but man, he would always, I know he's got to be in that hoodie all the time, correct, per his character, but he would have bullet holes in one scene, and then all of a sudden it's just fine right after. So I don't know. I can't get that process as well, but he was probably the best performance out of any one of them, or at least the one that I actually thought had any retainable value going forward. But that's just my eyes. Who did you think fared out the best in the series?
Oh, well, I mean, like I said, I haven't finished it yet. I'm always super partial to Daredevil, just because I think of the four, he's got the most intriguing story and the most, it has the most layers to it. But yeah, I mean, I like Luke Cage. I'm not a huge fan of Jessica Jones, and I'm whatever about Iron Fist. I didn't think his show sucked. I'm probably one of the few people who didn't think that, but yeah, I mean, Daredevil is definitely my favorite.
At this point in time, I thought with Iron Fist, he kept reiterating a story over and over again, as far as as exposition in the Defenders. It's like, okay, we get it. We know how you got to this point. We know how you got to this point. We know what you're supposed to do. We know you failed. Okay, that's great. That's great. And it kept reiterating it, almost on every episode early on. It's just, okay, I get it. I get it. And then with Jessica Jones, she's angry at the world. We get that as well. And yes, she drinks a lot. Yes, we know that as well too. But I just wanted to see more of her character given a chance to even flow even more. But her investigative skills were not even put to the test really a whole lot in the series as well. Just a few minutes here and there. And I think that would have been even a more interesting angle to go through if it had been expanded more. And with Daredevil, am I wrong, but did he seem kind of whiny in some of those episodes, as far as trying to stay out of battle and not get into this whole mess?
Yeah, that was weird to me. They never said, in the end of the last one, they never said that he had permanently hung up his thing. I know he just stopped doing it because of what happened to Elektra, but here they didn't make it. They didn't make it clear that he had had an arrangement with his friends or the support of his friends to help him get through this stuff. And it was more I don't know, the fact that they had to coax him back into fighting, because that's Daredevil. That's what he likes to do. It's kind of and it also feels like a tired storyline that we've seen in a lot of other comic book related things.
And I know it's his success, the success of his show, that really, kept the ball and got the ball rolling for the entire series to take place. And people seem to love Daredevil so much. So that's why I was kind of disappointed with his turn in this series of episodes. So, like I said, Defenders really as a series, if you, I'd say unless you have the Netflix subscription already, maybe you want to see it, but I don't think it's really worth it. I put it as a thumbs down at this point in time. I know Josh is, he hasn't seen the last episode, but he's not very far behind me from what it sounds like. So, what are your thoughts on the Defenders? Do you think it's a great showing for Marvel, or do you think, like us, that maybe there could be a lot of room for improvement in this continued Marvel Netflix love fest? And do you think this will affect the future of their shows going forward? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also, as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanity Media, and Game Source on Facebook and Twitter as well. And we're back with the Pop Culture. And we're back with Pop Culture Cosmos. My name is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly appreciate it. You truly appreciate you being part of the broadcast here today. Josh, I know the box office weekend was still in somewhat of a gear. I don't want to say high gear, because as we wind down these weeks in August, as we noted earlier in the month, we thought this would be not the greatest month in the world as far as for box office sales. Hitman's Bodyguard, starring Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson, still garnered some box office dollars, earning over $20 million roughly at the box office this weekend. But for a movie that really was not critically highly praised, it still managed to score well over Logan Lucky, which had a lot of better thoughts and admiration from critics around the country, but still massively disappointed with under $10 million this weekend at the box office. So I ask you, Josh, when you see things like that happen in the box office universe, what does that tell you about fans' interests? And we've also go back and forth as far as the weight these review sites have, like Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic and whatnot. What does that tell you as far as what audiences' habits could be in regards to films like these here in late August?
Well, I know that Logan Lucky, right? It was certified fresh by Rotten Tomatoes.
Yes, it has a very high score. It's one time in the 90% range, percentile range. So it actually scored very well with critics.
Yeah, and I think that goes to show you, I know we've talked about this before, but people like original ideas. Like, they like original content. There is still a demand for movies that aren't franchise related or part of the superhero brigade. And it's kind of like, I look at it the same way I look at Baby Driver. It was a good movie. It wasn't attached to anything. It existed and people liked it.
But Logan Lucky, unfortunately, did not meet a good weekend at the box office and really disappointed as far as not even making $10 million. It was kind of actually promoted and distributed in a different fashion than normal distribution and promotional matters in regards to the different ways Steven Soderbergh tried to distribute the film. This is his first film coming back in quite a few years, directing as far as from a major motion picture standpoint is concerned. So I know that there was a different style and a different way that they tried to approach marketing and distributing the film. But do you think that what does that tell you when a film that's panned like Hitman's Bodyguard does so much better, almost 3 times as much as a film that has a fun premise and has good word of mouth from the critics, like Logan Lucky?
That's an interesting point. I know because it went up against Hitman's Bodyguard, and that was kind of both Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson are huge actors, whereas we know and love like Pierce Brosnan and Adam Driver because we're fans of Star Wars and James Bond. But
you mean Daniel Craig?
Daniel Craig, yeah, sorry. But outside of those, you know, Star Wars and James Bond, like they're not exactly known for many other things. They're talented, like actually trained actors, but they haven't, like, as far as like, they haven't been in a lot of things that have been presented to the mainstream audience outside of their big franchises. So I can see like how that would be a hard sell, but at the same time, like, it's Baby Driver didn't do so hot when it first came out, so I think, you know, we still have some time to get to you know, see the movie make some money. But yeah, if the critics like it, it's probably going to end up being one of those like cult hits like Boondock Saints was, where it'll build a following, and then once it hits like a home video, it'll the sales will start to gain momentum a little more. That's just what I think, though.
I hope so, because I think it's a great premise. I still think that Logan Lucky can do well in its afterlife, like you said, in home video, television, and whatnot, because there is precedent for that. And in fact, you know, Blade Runner 2049 got a sequel so many years later because it did so well over the years as a cult favorite on various video platforms. So that's something definitely to look forward to if that's the case. I'm just kind of disappointed that a film that does have good word of mouth, like Logan Lucky, with critics, doesn't get supported in the way that maybe a Hitman's Bodyguard did, that has not so good word of mouth, but has bigger name stars in, like you said, Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson. So we'll have to wait and see if that continues the trend. Then again, you know, earlier, the Emoji Movie, when that debuted, people were, you know, just, you know, harping about how that movie, with its low critical acclaim, still managed to go ahead and do so well at the box office and outperform better movies and better structurally made movies at the box office. So that's always a pattern. I know marketing is a key, and how it's marketed a film that's always a key as well. So there's always different factors in the way, you know, what makes a film a success, and what, you know, makes a film, you know, not perform the way it should at the box office, no matter how good it is. So always some key factors there as well. What are your thoughts on this weekend's box office? Did you get a chance to see The Hitman's Bodyguard and also as well Logan Lucky? Did you get to see either one? What are your thoughts? Did you like it? Did you not get a chance to see both? Were you not even interested as far as in either movie? We'd like to hear that as well, and why. Share us your share us your thoughts. Share us your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, and Humanica Media on Facebook and Twitter as well. And we're back with Pop Culture Cosmos. This is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly appreciate you being part of the broadcast here today as we close out the show. Josh, it's been a great episode indeed, and I do want to thank everyone for being part of the broadcast here today. But Josh, before we head on out, what's going on with your awesome channel known as Humanica Media?
Yeah, we have a new What About This coming at you tomorrow. I know took some time off, and the guys are all back in town, so we recorded an episode Saturday, and it's going to be
like, what's this show, you know?
Yeah, it's like a brand new podcast, plus with the new audio quality, it literally does sound like a new podcast. So stay tuned for that. We have New Super BS as usual, which is our only weekly podcast, and if you haven't had a chance yet, check out Gardens of the Geek, which is available now on podcast.com, soon to be on iTunes, and then Topicocalypse. I'm hoping to have one out next week. And as always, catch the Attack of the Humanicans on the Podcast Radio Network at 7 o'clock on Tuesday nights. And
7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, right here on the Podcast Radio Network.
Right, yes.
Okay, that's a lot of great stuff indeed. And also as well, check out the Humanican Media channel on YouTube, and also as well, check out all the great stuff on his Facebook and Twitter accounts to see all the great things that are going on there as well. Well, actually, I wanted to end it on one thing, but I actually ended on two. I know, Josh, on the Humanica Media channel, you got a chance to go ahead and really check in and really do some great gameplay with Hellblade: Sesuna's Sacrifice. So I want to get your thoughts on the game itself, and if you would recommend it to people out there. I know we've talked about it on some previous episodes in a little bit of brief here and there, but I want to get your final thoughts on the game now that you have completed it already.
Yeah, for sure. My review will be up here soon, but it's as for $30, like you'd be dumb not to buy this game because it is terrifying. It's beautiful, and it's terrifyingly beautiful, and it's it's not a complex game. It's one of those games that's designed to tell a story, and it's designed to raise awareness for mental health, which I can't go into much detail without spoiling it. So my review will have some spoilers in it, but yeah, you get put in the shoes of somebody who it's an interesting take on it because you don't see a lot of mental health type things that take place in historical time periods. So you have what did they do to people who suffered from mental illness back then? So you find out in this game, and it's there's a lot of it's kind of like God of War. There's puzzles and there's combat. There's no like level building. It's a very simple game, but it tells a very great story, and it's and it even is like Senua as a character that by the end of it you realize you're like, yeah, we all like have a piece of her like in us, like we can relate to something of her struggle, which is really unusual for a video game. And I don't want to give too much away, but yeah, definitely pick it up because I had a really great time with it. I haven't been that into a video game in a really long time.
And that review you will be able to find on popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. So check it out from Josh Peterson. That is Hellblade: Sesuna's Sacrifice, his review on popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. So before we head on out, Josh, I wanted to hit you with one last pop culture thing before we head on out. And don't forget, next week on our Pop Culture Cosmos show, it is our 1-year anniversary. I'm hoping to think we can try and do something a little bit, a little bit different from the norm, a little bit special from the norm. We'll try to see what we can come up with. But until then, I want to leave you with this. The Jetsons, that's right. His Boy Elroy, that is coming back possibly as far as a live action TV series, I believe. And I believe Robert Zemeckis and also Family Guy writers will be involved with the show as far as from an executive producer and also a writing standpoint. So I ask you, Josh, as someone who may or may not have experienced the Jetsons, as I did, is this something that you're interested in, or is this something that really do you think will be able to reinvigorate another old icon of pop culture?
I don't think so, man. Like I watched the cartoon. I grew up watching the cartoon on Cartoon Network and Boomerang. I don't. There is a huge call for nostalgia, like as far as like cartoons and movies and TV shows go. Like it's obviously they're bringing back Full House and Roseanne, and they have 90s cartoons like Hey Arnold and Rocko's Modern Life are coming back. And
but this goes way back.
Yeah, this goes right. This goes way back. But if we've seen anything in the past like 5-10 years, is that whenever these big names, you mentioned the Family Guy writers. So whenever somebody like that gets their hands on an old IP, and it's just it doesn't work out so well because they turn it into a raunch-com, but they don't realize is they have a market that will literally eat it up if you just make it the way that they want to see it.
Well, like I said, I did watch it as well, the series, when, it obviously in reruns because both you and I weren't around at the time it was created and actually appearing on television. So I'll tell you what, I'll give it some leeway, but not much, because I tell you, I'm not excited for it. I don't know why it's going to come around. And as a TV series, that's even a harder deal than making it a movie because you don't have the production on let's say, to cover for each and every episode, because it's set in the future. And with all that stuff going on, you need a lot of special effects. From a personal standpoint, I think you would need a lot of special effects, and I'm not sure you're going to be able to get the kind of budget for that with a television series per se. And I would think, how funny is it going to be, George getting himself in all these calamities like he did on the cartoon series? How well will that really translate into a 2018, 2019 audience? I'm not really sure as well, but that, like I said, to me, it probably would have worked better as maybe a comedy on the movies. You put a 70, 80, $100 million on it, and maybe it might have broken even worldwide, but I don't know. This is just something that should have been kept on the Saturday morning cartoons long ago, and that's just my opinion, but we'll see. It may look good, so I may be proven wrong, but as you and I have seen, all these properties that are coming to television that you and I both think need a lot of love and care that just can't get it being a television series because you're just not afforded the money. Maybe Star Trek Discovery, maybe some of these other properties, Marvel's Inhumans, will prove us wrong, but we'll have to wait and see. But the Jetsons coming back to television, not something we were really waiting for, and not something I don't think many people really wanted as well. What are your thoughts on the Jetsons coming back to television? Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Do you really want to see Jane and Elroy and George and all the gang, Mr. Spacely and all that stuff, Spacey Sprockets? Do you want to see all that stuff? Can't believe I'm remembering all this at one time off the top of my head. It just seems incredible. But do you really want to see all that? Share us your thoughts, Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, and Humanity Media on Facebook and Twitter as well. Okay, I had to sing the rest of that song. But Josh, it's been another great episode indeed. Any last thoughts on the way out?
No, not right now. I think we covered everything. But yeah, if you could catch us on iTunes and leave us a review, that's kind of the currency of the realm for us podcasters. So that'd be fantastic. And thanks for always tuning in to us week after week and helping us get to 50 episodes.
51 with 52 next week.
Hey, a year of podcasting is something, though.
It is indeed. And I want to say publicly, I'll probably say it next week as well. But I want to thank you, my friend. I appreciate you being with me here side by side, even though we're in two different states. I just appreciate all your help in doing this and coming up with this, and Rob McCallum and everyone. And I'm sure we'll all get misty-eyed next week as our 1 year anniversary hits. But I truly want to thank you again. And it's truly appreciated. To everyone out there that's helped us, I'll name everyone next week. And also, most importantly, you, the listener, for being by our side each and every week. It's all because of you. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. And we thank you so much for being here. Oh, sorry. It's another beautiful day. It's another beautiful day here in paradise, here in the Pop Culture Cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself, for the 51st time, a great day.